I decided to begin this chapter a little bit different way than the previous ones. Namely, first I will show you the result of our work, because it is important to me that you will know from the beginning in what direction we are going. You can see here finished formworks of the arc-shaped lintels supported by the outer pillars. Columns made with mortared formworks filled by reinforced concrete are placed on the spot footings completed in the first chapter. These powerful lintels will provide support for the reinforced concrete slab, which formworks and reinforcing you can now see from the underside. Next you can see the balcony formwork construction. There are two of such structures in the project. The implementation of all those structures will be the subject of this chapter. Now let's go back to start from the beginning. For preparing construction, as usual, I used OSB with thickness of 15 mm. As you saw, each of two pillars supports two different length lintels. Shorter one will be more than 2 meters, longer one about 3.5 meters. Both are half a meter high, I mean the distance from the pillar to the ceiling. Firstly, we'll cut a half meter wide strip, which will serve as a base for the outer portion of the formwork. When performing carpentry work, always prepare a workbench. As you can see here, the contractor simply used scaffolding, setting those in interested height. Remember that it will be a lot of work during the process, and you should for the first place take care of the ergonomy, for both reasons, the time and health. In the first place, we'll do the formwork of the long lintel. As you can see, we are attaching each other two plates already cut to the 50 cm wide. Those together have a length of 4.8 meters, but we need 3.5 meters, so we measure this length with a tape and mark this distance on both edges of the board. Then mark a line crossing these 2 points and cut the board. The prepared pieces we'll put together on the floor and proceed with draw the arc that we need to cut. First draw a line exactly in the middle of the formwork. At this place the arc will be the thinnest and its height can be found in the project. In this case it will be 30 centimeters. The project also contains an information about the radius of the circle, which part of will be the designed arc. In our specific case, the radius is 458 centimeters. We will measure such a distance from the point drew before in the middle of the formwork and mark it on the floor. Remember that you must keep a tape measure perpendicular to the formwork. Then we make a simple beam compass with inextensible steel wire. At the end of it, we make a hole and put a pencil on it. Holding the other end of the wire in the point drawn earlier is enough to draw the line the way you can see now on the film, and you are done. For cutting the curved lines, it's best to use a jigsaw. Jigsaw is a very handy tool and one of those which is not worth to saving money buying it. This Makita serves me 8 years virtually trouble-free, cuts easy any wood or wooden-based materials, worktops and other elements. The inner part of the formworks will obviously be lower. Its upper edge will be placed on the same level as ceiling and previously made formworks of the substrings. Shorter lintels, as I mentioned earlier, have a length of about 2.2 meters, so it was possible to make a one-piece construction. Of course, the radius for this formwork was different, but we have it done in exactly the same way as presented earlier. Having cut one arc of the board, we will use it as a template to redraw the others. To combine parts of the formwork, simply put those upside down, as you can see it on the film. Wider part will go to the outer face of the substring, narrower will be placed on the inside, and from this side will be embedded reinforced concrete slab. For this reason, the inner part is about 24 cm lower. This will be the thickness of the slab. The substring will be 25 cm wide, and now we are screwing this size spacers between the boards. This will facilitate our work. The next step is mounting the flexible shifts to the arc. Here is just a small dilemma of what material to use. As you can see, I used regular chipboard, such as it is placed behind furniture used commonly on the wall sides. It is only 3 mm thick and actually is very weak because it is made with paper, but it is also very plastic. There were doubts whether this material is survive under the pressure of a huge mass of concrete. As it turned out, did its job very well. If I used the boards after removing the shuttering, the effect would not be so smooth. Shuttering, of course, have to be strengthened up before laying the concrete. As you can see, we attached a lot of boards from the bottom. Each of the lintels will also be stamped. Here you can already see the setting of the first of formworks between a window bay and the column. Note that the timber is not standing on a pillar, but on the boards fastened to those one. Of course, in different conditions on various projects, the situation will look different. There is no any single system to strengthen the formworks. Just be sure to examine the direction of the thrust of concrete and give as much as possible to make it strong enough. We are also preparing support for the shuttering of the reinforced concrete slab. I used a timber size 15 by 3.4 cm. Two of them will be bolted to the perpendicular walls, another two to the substring formworks. We will create a rectangle that will be the main frame in which the shuttering will be placed. Between them we'll fix every 40 cm a timber which will support all frame. Fastening timber we are drilling through the wall, and as you can see in the video, using threaded rod for assembly the construction to the wall. Please note that one pair of the beams are screwed below so that the reinforcing beams can be placed on it. Now we are mounting the second timber. We will set this horizontally in a proper level, and later we'll only put the beams on the top, those on which next we will put shuttering plates. The beams are lower than the edge of the substring formworks as much as the thickness of the plate. At this point, you can also see how the inner ring fittings. We start to set a second formwork, first a board that will support it, one to the wall and the other to the pillar. It reminds to put formwork on those ones and pre-attach it with screws. Then you can go to the leveling and to the setup further reinforcing beams. When you will build any wooden structure, always fasten the frame first and only then fill the interior parts. This gives you the ability to accurately position the appropriate level of the whole structure, and when you get it, you will easily set the rest of the timber to the right places without having to play with spirit level. After setting all timbers, cut OSB boards to the appropriate size and put them on the construction. The next step will be reinforcement of the formworks, but about this matter I will tell in the next chapter. Meanwhile, we proceed with completing the construction of the balconies formworks. As you can see on the places where balconies will be, we used gutter-shaped formworks the same as for the internal walls, precisely in order to let the balconies be a monolith together with the ceiling and crown. Their reinforcement will be all linked together. The shape of arc we'll cut is described in the specification and you should follow this. Now you can see process of cutting threaded rods, which will be used to attach the formwork to the wall. There are two balconies in this project, so we used already cut board as a template. Some of strengthening you can execute immediately on the table. It depends on your assessment of the situation. Now we need to attach the beam, which will be the base for the formwork. We will fix it drilling the holes through the wall because it guarantees 100% of stability. I decided to rely the formworks of the balconies on two wooden handles, such as you can see now being installed. You will see in a moment how it is going to be done. First check to see if the top is certainly in the level. Then mark off the bottom place where you will put the support. Here we also drilled through the wall. Such structures should be made using a little imagination and intuition. There are no strict rules that will work properly for each project. We do the same with the other ones. After building the whole construction, we will have to strengthen the structures. Then set the bottom parts of the formwork. In this way, pretty soon we have the main element of the structure. Now it remains to mount two straight sides and the front board made with 3mm chipboard, the same as for the curved bottom of the previously made lintels. After all, we must underpin construction using wooden pegs. And that's it. In the next chapter, I will talk a little about reinforcement.